arrived early in the southeastern part of the United States, 3 weeks earlier than average and earlier than at any point in the past 39 years. That's right, folks. We're talking North Carolina, South Carolina, and North Florida. That is the word from the USA National Phenology Network. It's all part of a trend of rising temperatures and early leaf emergence. Now that brings me to our slay word Byzantine, for characterized by a devious and surreptitious manner of operation. That would be the Republican plan that is destroying our natural resources and which is fueling our global warming. What does it mean for you? Well, when plants bloom early, they might bloom before their pollinators are available. No pollination of the plant, no more new plants. When insect populations increase, and that's another part of this, this is going to threaten to reduce agricultural yields, which of course means less food is available. And that of course means that the price of the food you're buying in the grocery store goes up. It is a vicious cycle, folks, one we must avoid. According to a 2016 study by the National Park Service, they found that 3/4 of the 276 park study, they are all experiencing the impact of an early onset of spring. And half of the parks are experiencing an extreme early onset of spring as compared to those historical averages. Now, we're talking affected parks are Congaree there in South Carolina, also parts of the Great Smoky Mountains there in Tennessee and North Carolina. Plants are not the only things that are showing signs of early spring and being impacted by the early spring. Animal hibernation is being affected, those times being altered also. Locations of migrating animals, those are also being affected, and some insect populations, as I stated previously, are increasing. I don't know about you, but I don't want to see any more spiders. Oh no. And then of course, if the weather gets cold again, which it could do, the early blooming fruits and flowers could be damaged. That's another problem. And then of course, there's always, when the warm weathers come, the potential increase in wildfires. I'm Carol Angela Davis. We got to get it under control, and that change starts in the White House. Did you vote? Thanks for watching. I'm Carol Angela Davis with your slay word. Now listen, we're going to be like Gloria Gaynor, okay? We're going to survive. That's right. We're surviving the coronavirus. Fight. We're all fighting. And wash your hands. That would be really helpful. All right, the slay word is Byzantine. Level up, folks. B-Y-Z-A-N-T-I-N-E. Byzantine. An adjective, of course, meaning it modifies a noun, coming to us from the late 16th century, of course, from the Latin word Byzantinus. Now, here's the definition. It means extremely complicated or characterized by a devious and usually surreptitious manner of operation. We're going to use that in a sentence. The action movie was intense, with several Byzantine chase scenes with many twists and turns down back alleys. The speed was so fast it was dizzying. How about that? Or how about this? She hated her job because of its Byzantine nature. There were so many rules and regulations she felt she couldn't keep up. Byzantine, it means extremely complicated or characterized by a devious and usually surreptitious manner of operation. Now let's take it up to the current events, because you know it applies there. All right. Some people say they switched from Bernie Sanders to Joe Biden for president because they felt Bernie's health care plan was Byzantine in that it was extremely complicated and was not realistic. I don't know what you think about that, but I'm just giving you a sentence. All right, how about this? The Trump administration, yes, is extremely Byzantine in the way it conducts business, especially the way the administration lied and separated children from their parents at the border. Byzantine, okay? I know you feel me on that one. It is an adjective. It modifies a noun. You know that. It means extremely complicated or characterized by a devious, Trump, and usually surreptitious manner of operation. I'm Carol Angela Davis. I'll use it every day in my news. Get me on Instagram, Carol Angela Davis, Twitter @CarolAngelaD. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thanks for joining me. Okay, the Russians never quit. We know this. Now a Russian troll factory has been found operating in West Africa. That's right. The factory outsourced to Ghanaian and Nigerian operatives. That is the word from Facebook and Twitter. And they say they removed the accounts. It is the first time a troll factory has been found running from Africa. Apparently, the network was composed of 49 Facebook accounts, 85 Instagram accounts, and 71 Twitter accounts. It's small from the standpoint of troll factories, but experts say it's because they're just beginning to build that audience. They caught them right in the beginning stages, bringing me to our slay word Byzantine, for, of course, characterized by a devious and surreptitious manner of operation. And yes, It was a Byzantine operation, but not so Byzantine that it didn't get caught, folks. The trolls posted about topics like Black history, Black excellence, fashion, celebrity news, events related to famous American, LGBTQ issues, and broader issues like the coronavirus and oppression and injustice, including police brutality. Don't get sucked in. You got to watch these people. Now, the local African operatives used fake accounts and they managed pages. They were posing as non-governmental organizations, personal blogs. They posted in groups. And the content was very subtle because, of course, they're trying to build an audience, so they don't want to turn anybody off. They're trying to grow the audience. They were found to have links to EBLA, which is an NGO in Ghana, and to persons associated with past activity by the Russians. And of course, we know the Russians have tried this before. You may not have known this, but in the Cold War, they wrote anonymous racist hate letters to African diplomats in New York and said the letters came from white supremacists, so we know who we're dealing with. In 2016, you know what Robert Mueller said about that. The Russians had trolls working out of that troll factory in St. Petersburg, posing as a grassroots group called Black Matters US. And in February 2017, a Russian troll using the persona Black Fist, that don't even sound like us, even hired a self-defense instructor in New York to give classes to African Americans. Now, if you fall for that dumb stuff, if you're an African American person and you are involved in this mess, giving those classes, doing something stupid to mess up the election, we're going to do you just like Dave Chappelle did, okay? Out. We're going to take the racial draft and draft you out of this race because you are ridiculously ridiculous. So don't do that. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Protect the vote and vote. I am Carol Angela Davis. Okay, Donald Trump wants to put a whole bunch of cash in your pocket. Well, not a whole bunch, $1,000 or maybe a couple if we're lucky. But that's because the economy is crumbling, as I've been telling you for the last few months. The White House now trying to shore up the economy and flood it with cash, folks. That's what it's trying to do. We all know that Trump's emphasis is on business, but we have to make sure that any bailout also helps individuals and families because, as we all know, we cannot play ourselves cheaply because bailouts have done really nothing for the middle and the working class in the past, okay? We are in a recession, as we know. Now, Trump and Pence, they want Congress to put over $50 billion on the table for the airline industries, the cruise industry, and the travel companies, folks. That money includes access to federal loans to buy jet fuel and also boost grants to fund airport cleanings. Let me tell you something. Nobody's going through the airport. I don't know what they're talking about because, you know what, if we don't have any money, first of all, we're not getting on a plane, and we're not going to have any money if you only give us $1,000. I mean, let's be clear. All right, now, what is on the table for you? That it really is the $64,000 question. The White House has a relief package out there. It's about $850 billion. It provides paid sick leave to impacted workers, including a large payroll tax cut for employers and employees, and theoretically, that should increase your take-home pay. But let me ask you this. What American business in the time of Trump ever cared enough about you to give you an increase in your hourly wage that actually meant something? I mean, come on, we are in the time of nothing but greed and destruction of the American economy and the American family. Let's be clear. Don't let them fool you, folks. And please, whatever you do, don't let them get caught up, all right? Now is the time to be in touch with your congressperson and your senator right now. Where is the minimum wage of at least $15 an hour? Where is that? Okay? Where is the student loan debt relief? Where is that? Because that's what we need to be. When we talk bailout, we need to be talking about stuff that helps every family in America. That's something that would help you, your kids, your grandkids, all the way down the line. That's what we need. Larry Kudlow, President Donald Trump's top economic advisor, said this on Fox Business, I quote, "We will reach for every possible way to gird the health and economic side. Whatever it takes, we are prepared to do." Okay, so we want him to put your money where your mouth is, buddy. Let's just see what you are really prepared to do for the common person. And that brings me to our slave word Byzantine, for extremely complicated and characterized by a devious and usually surreptitious manner of operation. We are not going to let the Trump administration come up with some Byzantine plan, folks. We know they're capable of it. That's really designed to pour money into the hands of the wealthy and the businesses and give us just a little tiny bit of relief that we're supposed to be happy for, while we turn around and go back to work as the slaves and indentured servants of the billionaire class and the wealthy businesses. Okay, Utah Republican Senator Mitt Romney, he says this. Okay, send a $1,000 check to every adult American. It sounds like a lot of money, doesn't it? Oh my gosh, I wish I could get that, but it's not. Don't get caught up, okay? You're going to spend that in no time catching up on those bills. You don't know how long you're going to be out of work. We don't know how long these businesses are going to be closed. We know that America's probably going to have to reboot, retool, and restructure. There's no telling what this work world is going to look like when this mess is over, if it ever gets over. We know it's going to be at least 2 years because we're not going to have a what do you call it, immunization until then, okay? So even when it's over, guess what? We're still going to be saddled with all this debt. We still got the student loan debt and all the other problems plaguing our household. And that student loan debt, don't forget, folks, that is the gift that keeps on giving. It is just not given to you. But boy, the banks and the feds are cleaning up on your back. That student loan debt must go. Please pass this video around to your friends because we are not playing about this right now. If they're going to restructure, we want to restructure it in our favor as well. The federal government is talking about waiving interest rate accrual on your student loans. Keep in mind that the money that is loaned to you for your student loans is your money. Don't forget that's your tax dollars at work in the first place. So why are we paying interest rate on our own money that we loaned ourselves to get ahead, except we can't get ahead because we're paying too much interest on the money we loaned ourselves to get ahead? It is ridiculous. Those are the times that we live in, okay? The coronavirus is uncovering all this mess, and we have to straighten it out, okay? We want the student loan debt gone. We want the interest rates gone. Now, take a look at the Slate magazine. They got a great article. A lot of this is in there. So how come it's so easy for America to help people now in the age of the coronavirus, but they couldn't help them before that? Get this, folks. Many cities and towns changing rules to keep the jails from being overcrowded. Well, la-dee-da. That is not a new concept. We've been talking about that for years. Okay, cities are not going to lock up sick people. Huh? Seriously? You just thought of that? We've been talking about that for years. Come on, people. It took the coronavirus for you to understand how to be a humane person or business. And Walmart. Shame on you, Walmart. Shame on you, Walmart. Okay, now that we have the coronavirus, you can easily provide up to 2 weeks paid leave for any employee who contracts the coronavirus. Okay, why now? Just because you know that you don't want those people coming to work, because you know if you don't have health insurance, you are coming to work. And when you come to work, you're going to infect everybody on the job, and everybody's going to get sick and tumble down. There goes Walmart's business model, okay? But you should have done this before. We're glad you're doing it. Don't get us wrong. But you should have done it before. And you're only doing it now because workers go out and they do things like earn money. And when they earn money, they do things like shop, and that feeds your business model. So let me tell you something, folks. When this is over, we must force Walmart to continue that extra 2 weeks, or in some cases, the only 2 weeks of paid sick leave. And finally, cities like New York, Miami, and New Orleans are going to stop evicting sick people. How noble of you. Seriously, how the heck do you sleep at night knowing you went to work and evicted a sick person? That's a doggone shame. You know all these big housing developments and houses are now owned by corporations and the billionaires. They are not going to miss a little bit of money. And we won't even talk about turning off people's utilities. I can't even go there. Folks, America is the richest country in the world. We are rich in money, and we are bankrupt when it comes to our morals. All right, so we have to hold our country to a higher standard. That's all there is. We have to do that. We do it by voting people, by electing the right people. And we all know that the people that are in the White House surrounding President Trump are not the right people. Of that, we can pretty much, most of us, agree. All right, and I'm talking about all the jobs, especially those jobs at the cabinet level, which Trump thinks can only be held mostly by white men. He hasn't figured that out yet. We cannot allow government and corporations to return to business as usual if and when the coronavirus dies down, and even if it doesn't. We cannot allow them to return to business as usual because it is not good for our country. Stay well, stay strong, hold your country accountable, people. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thank you for watching, and thank you for caring about our great country. Let's keep it great. I am Carol Angela Davis. It's Crime Day on Thursday, coronavirus crime to be exact. And here are the headlines of the stories I'm going to talk about today. First, the Justice Department goes after coronavirus criminals, and yes, there are some. Plus, police ask the other criminals to please just take a freaking break. Wait till you hear that story. Then Trump, of course, is pardoning criminals, his contribution to the coronavirus. Then Russia is using cyber crimes to come after the U.S. Okay, folks, here we go. Over at the Justice Department, another kind of criminal activity, and that would be letting the guilty go free, or certainly the charged escape charges. Justice Department prosecutors want to dismiss the charges, folks, against Russians who helped to interfere with the 2016 elections. Okay, the White House just never stops giving a break to the Russians. And we thank you, Mitch McConnell, for absolutely nothing. Robert Mueller charged Concord Management and Concord Consulting, plus the troll farm known as the Internet Research Agency, and 13 other companies, you'll remember that, with sowing political discord ahead of the 2016 elections. Concord and the troll agency are charged with engaging in a social media campaign that spread disinformation, but that doesn't seem to matter to the Trump administration. People, the White House is allowing them to evade any real obligations or responsibility for what they did to our election, which of course got him elected. And look at the mess we're in now, people, okay? Trump is also trying to pardon Mike Flynn after he helped the Russians try and destroy this country. Trump is considering a full pardon for his former national security advisor, who pleaded guilty, as you know, to lying to the FBI. We thought that was a crime. Apparently it's not. About dealings with Russia's ambassador before Trump took office, taking advantage, folks, of the coronavirus problem. We can't see if Trump would keep his eye on the ball, we might be a little bit safer today if he had acted a month ago. Then from Tennessee, a man there could be headed to jail. He's being investigated by the Tennessee Attorney General, of course, for alleged price gouging. That's because he stockpiled nearly 18,000 bottles of hand sanitizer, trying to sell them on Amazon and price gouge and sell them for the highest possible price. Well, Amazon stopped him. You may have heard that story, suspended his account, so now he's scared. He's being investigated, so he's given the hand sanitizer bottles to a local church, so we'll see what happens. Meanwhile, several police departments across the country, they're asking the criminals, please tamp it down, just stop, go home, sit down, no criminal activity, at least for now. Police in Ohio, Wisconsin, Kentucky, Utah, and Washington, all of them asking the criminals to just take a breath for a moment. All right, the Salt Lake City Police Department said cheekily, we will let you know when it is safe for you to resume your usual criminal activity. A police department in Oregon is also asking residents, please stop calling 911 when you run out of toilet paper. People, come on, you got to stop doing that. Now, in Cuyahoga County, that's where Cleveland is. In Cuyahoga County, they're holding hearings there for 325 inmates. Now, these inmates are either older or they have pre-existing health conditions, or for some reason, they're vulnerable to the coronavirus, so they're going to set these cases up, settling them actually with plea deals, or they're releasing them, or they're going ahead and placing them on house arrest, or they're sending them to state prison. So we now know we could have emptied the jail sooner. We won't even talk about that. Plus, the U.S. Justice Department is prioritizing cases related to criminal conduct due to the coronavirus, okay? So we're talking about crimes. This is what people are doing, folks. They are selling fake cures online for COVID-19 illness. Don't fall for it. There is no cure. They are doing phishing emails and they're posing as the World Health Organization and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. They're doing cyber attacks seeking Bitcoin funding. They want your money, which they claim is for vaccine research. And they're also using malware infecting apps that promise to track the spread of the virus. No, no, and more no. And finally, the U.S. State Department says Russia is trying to capitalize on the uncertainty caused by the pandemic. Researchers say they are doing attacks. They're targeting the supply chain impact of the virus. We're talking the shipping sector, transport, and the retail sectors. They say businesses have to be very careful because you're sending your people home quickly. You got to give them laptops so they can work at home, and you may be, you may be taking some shortcuts when it comes to your cybersecurity. Don't do that, because they're saying a lot of times they're buying these laptops from brands they wouldn't normally buy from, and you don't know what's in those laptops. And they're also not using and not conducting their usual rigorous testing procedures before they buy the laptop. So be very careful. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay strong, support one another. We're going to get through this. Thank you for watching. I am Carol Angela Davis. Okay, folks, guess what? When it comes to social justice, no one is worse at it than the far right, the white supremacists, okay? And they use coronavirus to advance their nasty agenda. The far right seems to see coronavirus as a significant opportunity to recruit and also to profiteer, folks. That's right, off of survival products. Remember, the far right survives and grows based on fear mongering, looking for areas of societal collapse. And many of them believe that mass violence is required in order to bring about the collapse of our pluralistic society. Imagine having that as your objective. According to the Guardian newspaper, a situation where people are panic buying is ideal for the white supremacists, and of course that's what's going on with the coronavirus because people are panic buying. They use that fear to ensnare people and get their money. And that brings me to our slave word Byzantine, for characterized by a devious and usually surreptitious manner of operation. We all know about these Byzantine groups, but what goes on in the dark? Well, you know the rest. Okay? You all know staunch Trump supporter Alex Jones, right? He has a website on which he sells bulk supplies for survival, and he is hawking those goods like crazy. Then there's the neo-Nazi right. They're using the coronavirus to try and force the end of liberal democracy and to build themselves a white a white ethno state. I mean, who wants a white ethno state? Are they serious? Who wants a state that's all ethno anything or anybody? I mean, don't they get it? Let me try. I'm going to try so hard to explain it to you guys, or to them, because they're probably not watching, but I want to explain it to you. Diversity is power. We are stronger together. Y'all don't get that. That's why y'all are weak, okay? So they are, there's also another group called the eco-fascists, okay? They're using the coronavirus to recruit people into their terrorist white supremacist agenda. It's a shame. The Southern Poverty Law Center says white nationalist hate groups in the U.S. have grown 55% during the Trump era, and this surging racist movement is driven by a deep fear of demographic change. But ding dong, is anybody home? The demographic change is here. So why fear it? Why don't you embrace it? You actually might like it and get ahead faster, or how about get ahead at all? All right, now. All right, nationally, there were 155 such groups that were counted last year, and we should tell you they are in most of the 50 states. We're talking about the Ku Klux Klan. We're talking about the racist skinheads. We're talking about, are you ready for this? The Christian. These people y'all need to mix it up with everybody else, because your whole thing doesn't make sense. The Christian identity groups that, of course, preach hate. But then, as my dearly departed mother did tell us when we were younger kids, they used the Bible to justify slavery. Enough said. Okay, folks? There's also the neo-Confederate group, so all of which also express some version of the white supremacist agenda. Now, they have to put everybody else down in order to raise themselves up. Does that sound superior to you? If you're superior, you just rise to the top. But if you have to put everybody else down in order for you to feel superior, that tells you that you are actually way down on the bottom. Y'all need to rethink that, okay? According to the Southern Poverty Law Center, last year the FBI upgraded its assessment of the threat posed by these racially motivated extremists to a national threat priority, and the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, also announced a strategic shift toward countering racial hatred, but not in the Trump administration, my dear. Senior members of the Trump administration are working against the efforts of the FBI. That's not very smart. And DHS. Trump aide Stephen Miller. Oh, yes, the public racist number one. He, of course, the Southern Poverty Law Center says has been long allied with anti-immigration hate groups. He remains in his senior role right there in the White House, people, and that is even though he was exposed for trying to insert white nationalist talking points into the right-wing news site Breitbart's coverage of the 2016 election. Didn't matter to Trump. Bring it on, people. Hate is just not a problem in the Trump administration, and white supremacy is clearly embraced from the hiring decisions to the policies. So what should you do? You got to vote. It's very simple. You have to make every candidate in every election, no matter how small, expose their views on white supremacy. Do not let these groups and their ambassadors of hate on every level of government take a crisis like the coronavirus and use it to grow their movement and to destroy the rest of us. Okay, vote and stop getting played, people. We can do this. We know anybody who has to claim they're superior is clearly not superior. We all know that, so we're not worried about that. We just have to just let them know that that kind of bad behavior, we're just not going to accept it in our society. And guess what? To them, a lot of people who voted for Trump, they don't like what you're doing either, and that's why they've moved over to the other side, because they're not having this in their country. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Stay safe. Have a good day. I am Carol Angela Davis with, of course, your cannabis news. We've got to go to Fort Collins, Colorado, where cannabis retailer Organic Alternatives has voluntarily closed its doors because of the coronavirus. Baka Kalai is the director of sales and marketing for Organic Alternatives and told this to marijuana business daily. Closing the business is going to result in significant financial losses yet and still. The store is closed indefinitely, and despite the fact that it was seeing more than 500 visitors a day. But the store is trying to protect not only its employees, but also people who were sitting in the lobby area. Now, of course, after that, there are fears that there could be more store closings. And if that's the case, they don't want there to be a run on cannabis stores, because if there is, and consumers run in there and buy out all the products, they're afraid that because they're afraid the business is going to close, then you know what's going to happen. Somebody's going to go in there and take advantage of the situation, hike up all the prices, and then they're going to still buy out everything, and there's going to be a lack of medical marijuana for the patients who really need it. Organic Alternatives Cultivation Facility and Infused Products Operations, we should tell you, they are still in business. Now, some business experts are saying this: if there is a larger shutdown, they're saying prices are simply going to skyrocket. Apparently, runs on cannabis stores have already started in some states. One store employee saying the stores are so crowded that you'd think they were selling toilet paper. Yes, you heard me correctly. Well, the closure there at Organic Alternatives and the closures in Colorado came soon after Colorado Governor Jared Polis announced that all Colorado ski areas would close, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, of course, recommended gatherings of more than 50 people should be limited for the next 8 weeks. Of course, they have since downsized that to 10 people, and the Trump administration wants you to avoid groups of more than 10 people as well. Meanwhile, some local regulators are including dispensaries along with pharmacies in the list of essential businesses that can remain open. The Crested Butte, that's in Colorado, town board held an emergency session there. In that session, they considered closing all businesses to the public with the exception of grocery stores, gas stations, liquor stores, and dispensaries, medical offices, and hardware stores. I get everything except the liquor store. I don't get the liquor store. They ought to be shamed. That one was about money. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thanks for watching. Well, I am Carol Angela Davis. You know, I've got your cannabis news, of course. Okay, lawmakers in a Idaho House of Representatives Legislative Committee, folks, they have voted against a bill that would have legalized hemp agriculture in the state. Yes, had the bill succeeded, farmers in Idaho would have been able to grow hemp, which was legalized, as you know, by the federal government in that 2018 Farm Bill. So it's legal on the federal level. Apparently, Idaho's State Affairs Committee heard 2 days of testimony on the bill, including from several farmers and agricultural groups. All of them spoke in favor of the bill, but anti-cannabis activists and former members of law enforcement, they opposed the bill with a vengeance, saying it would lead to a hemp marijuana culture in the state of Idaho. And one retired prosecutor, well, that person said the culture of hemp is the culture of marijuana. We know that I don't understand. Okay. One farmer said, Idaho, this is what the farmers said because they're really upset. One farmer said, Idaho agriculture lost today badly. And he added this: the farmer really lost. I am really, really disappointed. He said it is extremely foolish, unquote. Well, Republican Representative Caroline Nielsen Troy, she is the sponsor of the bill. It was called Senate Bill 1345. She sponsored it in the House, State Bill, 1345. She sponsored it in the House. She said the bill took into consideration both the economic potential of the crop and, of course, concerns from law enforcement. As you know, law enforcement fears that hemp is too difficult to distinguish from marijuana. Well, we know that's a problem all over the country, and people have dealt with it. The bill would have allowed farmers to grow hemp for grain or fiber, and it would have not legalized CBD, folks. Instead, CBD would have remained a Schedule I controlled substance there in Idaho under state law, but it would have been defined separately from marijuana. So they're just not going to do it. That's the way it is in Idaho. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thanks for watching. I am Carol Angela Davis with your Cannabis News. We travel over to the state of Michigan, where worries over the coronavirus have now led Michigan regulators to temporarily permit cannabis dispensaries to offer curbside pickup services. So, of course, they're trying to support the social distancing measures that the health department says will help slow the spread of the virus. Now, Michigan's Marijuana Regulatory Agency has issued temporary rules, and those rules do allow customers to go ahead and purchase those cannabis products from licensed medical marijuana provisioning centers and adult use retailers without having to enter the building or stand in a line. What you can do is pay via the internet or come to the facility and complete your transaction, make your order in the parking lot, and then complete the whole transaction there. And you won't have to interact with anybody else, just the person who works there at the facility, who will also record the necessary information required by state law. All right, let's travel to the Netherlands, where government officials there have closed the cannabis cafes. Yes, they have, people, along with schools, restaurants, bars, and other businesses, okay, when they're leaving them open in some places here, but they're closing them in the Netherlands. Now, that announcement did come from the Dutch Ministers of Health and Education. It did lead to long lines and a run on cannabis shops there. And we should tell you that a lot of customers rushed out to buy pot before they closed. Those closures are going to remain in effect until the 6th of April. Some customers saying they really don't smoke that much, but if they're going to be home for 3 weeks, well, they may need to get a little. So they did. Apparently, within 5 minutes, folks, 5 minutes of the government announcing that the shops were going to be closed, there was a nearly instantaneous rush on the cannabis shops. So far, you should know that as of this recording, 1,135 people have been infected with the virus there in the Netherlands, leading to 20 deaths. I'm Carol Angela Davis. I thank you for watching. Stay safe. I'm Carol Angela Davis with your Cannabis News. Folks, a researcher at the University of California, Los Angeles, has been awarded a $3.9 million grant to study how cannabis can help with pain relief. The funds are coming from the National Institutes of Health, their National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health. The researcher is Ziva Cooper. She is the research director at the UCLA Cannabis Research Initiative. She is also an associate professor of psychiatry and biobehavioral sciences over there at that David Geffen School of Medicine there in LA. The question being answered is this: can cannabis terpenes reduce the amount of opiate medication a person needs to reduce their pain? Terpenes are responsible for not only the distinctive aroma, but also the flavors of cannabis. The question then, can these terpenes improve the pain-relieving properties of THC while reducing unwanted side effects? Interesting, huh? Well, it is a 5-year grant that Ziva Cooper has secured. She says that the research is very important because it addresses the need to reduce the use of opioid medications for pain management. And we all know that this is a significant public health threat and, frankly, a public health crisis. This is the second grant awarded to Cooper to study the medicinal properties of cannabis. Wow. Last fall, she got a $3.5 million grant, and she's using that grant to study how men and women react to the pain-relieving and adverse effects of cannabinoids differently. Okay? Now, you should also know that Ziva Cooper was named the first research director of UCLA's Cannabis Research Initiative. She got that job in January 2019. That initiative was founded in 2017. It's all part of the Jane and Terry Simmel Institute for Neuroscience and Human Behavior. Those are those Hollywood greats who have taken their money and used it to advance all of society, and we thank them for it. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thanks for watching. Hey, I'm Carol Angela Davis. You know, I've got your cannabis news. Lebanon, we know countries all around the world are getting into the business. Now, Lebanon is about to jump into the marijuana industry. Its parliament poised to vote on whether to legalize cannabis from both a medicinal and an industrial standpoint. The country apparently trying to boost its crippled economy and also to stem the tide on the illegal production of cannabis. The new law applying to pot that has less than 1% of THC. Lebanon saying it believes it's really in a good position because it says it has a global competitive advantage because it says its soil is among the best in the world for growing cannabis, and the cost of production is very low in Lebanon when compared to the rest of the world. Then we turn to the substance hashish because that also is taken into account by this law. News service Al Jazeera reporting that Lebanon has cultivated the cannabis plant for nearly 100 years, but also produces large amounts of hashish, which is, of course, illegal to produce, to sell, or to use, but it is widely available locally, and of course it is sold illegally. It is exported illegally. You know what it is. It's that sticky, sweet-smelling derivative that is of the cannabis plant that looks like chocolate. Now, Lebanese hashish, you should know it can be found in European capitals. It's everywhere and formerly made up about 80% of the world's supply during the country's Civil War years. That was between 1975 in 1990 when cultivation was at its peak. But the new law is not going to address that long-standing hashish market. Instead, it's trying to establish an entirely new market. The Middle East, could it emerge as an unlikely but significant player in the burgeoning worldwide marijuana industry? Yes, it could. Get this, Israel legalized medical marijuana back in the 1990s, and that's why, of course, the Israelis are way ahead when it comes to research. And Israel has nearly 100 startups producing cannabis-based medicines and other products. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Thanks for watching.